Hey, hey, hey! It's Helen Hartsmith here again with
Kathy.
I was trying to bring it back down from crazy. Welcome to another podcast, another Heart of the Witch's Path podcast. This would be episode 501. And today we're going to answer some questions that have been building up in my inbox.
Right.
So we're going to deal with some of those. And, but before we do that, we have business. What is it? What? It's time for the correspondence of the week. Kathy, what's the correspondence of this week?
This week we have chosen to correspond with azurite. It is a stone. So it corresponds with the brow and throat chakra.
Because it's blue.
With the elements of air and water.
Because it's blue.
The astrological sign Sagittarius, the planet Jupiter.
That's interesting.
Because water.
Because of my class.
Yeah. So azurite amplifies the powers of Reiki and other healing. Increases the flow of energy throughout the body, increases self-worth, encourages communication, and brings out leadership abilities.
Nice.
It grants visions and prophetic dreams and aids in communicating with other dimensions and spirit guides.
Because it's blue.
And also past life recall.
Interesting. All right.
At least this is what the page that I Googled
has.
Yes. Google is my friend.
Yeah. Awesome.
So that was the correspondence of the week.
So, like I said before we talked about the correspondence, we're taking care of some correspondence of the week. Get it?
Yeah, the other correspondence.
We've been meaning, so we've talked about this before. The tail end of 2018 was just not super kind.
No.
And so we've been wanting to record podcasts for season 4 that didn't happen, so they got pushed into season 5. And well, here's us cleaning up stuff,
right,
and clearing the way for new ideas for this 5th season.
Right.
Some folks had written in and had some questions and such. And so, first of all...
And if we don't answer your question here, it doesn't mean we're ignoring you. It means that we're stewing on it, and we will cover your question.
Yeah, because we've got one or two things that folks have asked about that I'm still trying to... I need some
meat.
I need some time to like develop some stuff, right, or look for some more stuff. So if we're answering your questions this time, thank you for your patience with us. And we do appreciate questions and encourage them. So please keep sending them. We get to them. It's just not always
right away.
So,
Nala agrees.
Yeah. So the first question that we wanted to deal with is from a viewer named Angela. And we're not going to go into like every detail of her asking, but the basic gist of what she was asking about was specificity. Yes. In spell work. She had been... she'd been working some spell work with having some very specific intention, and got no results. She kind of went back to what she did and tuned it a little bit so that it broadened the scope of the intent, and then, whoa, things started happening.
And if I read the email correctly, she had also done some spell work that was very specific and worked.
Right.
So she was asking, how specific do you have to be, and what's kind of the gauge for this?
Right. So, I guess I'll start off by saying that my approach to spell work has changed a lot. I want to say that she had said that she's relatively new to working spells. So when I was a new witch, a baby witch, I really relied on spell books. You know, books that I purchased so that I got a feel for what magical energy felt like, and then watching for what the results were based on what this spell was supposed to do.
So that being said, it's important to have some sort of journal or record keeping where you do keep track. This is the spell that I did. This is the results that happened.
Right. And you want to make sure that you log any and all ingredients. If you tweaked something, like if you got a spell out of a spell book and tweaked it, like say you didn't have, Queen Anne's lace root and you used something else because you found a source that said, that it was good for the same things, make sure that you note that.
Right.
And then any words of power that were said, make sure that you note that. And
where you got them from sometimes, because now we go back and we go, okay, we have this ritual that we wrote 3, 4, or 5 years ago. Somebody wants to know where we got these words from. Well, most of the time we take words and we change them. We take words somebody else wrote and we change them to fit what we need. So when somebody asks us where it came from, we're like, I don't know.
Right. And that's why it's important to have a journal and different things like that. So as a baby witch, I was pulling stuff out of books. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Or web pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the internet grew, because remember when we started off, the internet was not as broad.
AOL.
as that kind of thing. So, but then as I started to learn more about my craft, I didn't want to depend on finding a spell for what my needs were, because, I might need it to change intent a little bit. Or, maybe I couldn't find what I was looking for, or I just flat out wanted to do it myself.
Right. Because while there is power in using someone else's words and spells.
Because it's your energy.
Right. And it's something that has been done by one person or 10 people or 100 people, or depending on the author or whatever.
Right.
Repetition in spells, no matter who does it, tends to gain power toward it. But there's also power in focusing your intent, focusing your will, coming up with the words yourself, coming up with the spell yourself. You're putting more of your power.
Right. Coming up with the words of power yourself, or coming up with the words of power that, is geared specifically towards the person whom the spell is meant for.
Right.
Can have a much more powerful effect than what some people call like a book spell.
Well, and it's like if you're doing a healing spell to somebody, it's yes, there's power saying that you want to send spell to some kid who's in a hospital with cancer. But it's much more powerful if you say, I want to send healing spell to John Smith, who's 10 years old, who is in the Detroit U of M hospital, who has this kind of cancer, and I know what he looks like.
Right. So in a sense, then my spellcraft evolved and matured.
Right.
And then as far as so like from there of like doing my own spells, I don't want to say it's being lazy. I got lazy because I don't really think but I mean, that's kind of like the easiest way to kind of phrase it. I got lazy, and instead of writing spells, I started using like exclusively energetic work.
Instant magic,
sending energy rather than doing a spell, sending healing energy, which is, I feel, just as effective as doing a spell.
Certainly.
It just, it can be quicker.
Right.
Okay, it's much more reactionary.
Well, and sometimes you're in a situation where, like I've been in a situation where I'm at work before and I have to do a quick spell and I don't have my athame and my incense and my candles.
and my sacred space and
right,
yeah.
right. And you have to do it on the fly.
Right. And then even another evolving was my stuff was always quick. Even when I was doing a lot of spell writing, it was always kind of quick, you know. But then I started learning about the value of long-term spell work. And so I now use long-term spell work for the big things like health. And that's why I do the Master Spell series. Those are like for big ideas that it's not, instant magic isn't going to necessarily change my health overnight.
Well, it can, but not long term.
Right. In order to have like a successful lasting kind of change, then you need to work long-term spell work. You need to deal with crap and you need to have mundane things as well that work all as a team. And so, and again, those are like big subjects is how I tend to look at long-term spell work. So that's kind of how my magic changed and evolved. Are you close to that? Are you kind of like with me? Like, what are you?
Well,
Major differences?
you're not really talking about specificity.
Not yet.
Right. So I also started in the book stuff, and I moved more into instant. There are occasions where I do long-term working. I work magic every morning in the shower toward a specific goal, and I've been doing that for a few months now. But I'm pretty specific about the intention that I'm going for. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it depends on the subject. I have done instant magic where I needed it right now.
I still do instant magic. Yeah, for sure.
And usually that's something that's very urgent and it has to be done right now. And I know exactly what I need and it has to be done right now.
So let's kind of focus then on like your specific intent. When you go to do something for instant magic, for instance, because it's kind of, I think there's different approaches to the different kinds of ways I work spells.
Okay, so let me do a scenario. Okay. Your car broke down.
Okay.
You need to get to work.
Okay.
Give me an instant magic spell.
I send out a calling that, you know, the person who I intend to call to like say, hey, can you give me a ride? Will pick up.
Right. And be available to take you to work. Right. So
that's the immediate.
In that instance, you don't care who takes you to work as long as somebody takes you to work.
Right.
As long as you have a ride to get there. Mm-hmm. You could be calling a taxi. You could be hopping a bus. Mm-hmm. If you're close enough, you could walk or take a bike ride. Or you're specific in that you want to get to work.
Right.
But how you get there is less important than getting to work.
Right.
Right. So your car's still not working. Mm-hmm. You need money to get your car fixed.
Yep.
So what do?
Well, I have a prosperity jar. Mm-hmm. I might be shaking on that, because that's kind of like a general prosperity, to help, start jingling the tones, the energies, so to speak.
So, but what are you asking for in that? For me, I would be asking for
the amount that I need to cover, or that I have whatever is wrong, that I have enough money to cover it,
which is two very different things,
right? And so, I start. Well, if I'm innocent, because I was actually in this situation recently.
I know you were. That's why I brought it up.
So having I knew that I had cash on me, but I didn't know what the exact problem was. I went into the situation with, okay, I know that I have this amount on me right now. I do have some in the bank that I can go and get more if necessary, if they will allow me to do that, because, I was on my own. Everybody else was at work that day. So I was able to get the car to the place. And so I put out the intention that this is what I have. Hopefully it covers it.
Right.
That was the intent that I put out.
So there's a couple of things there. One is that there's only so much wrong with the car that you can afford to cover.
Correct.
So that's one.
Right.
That's one intention. And another is, which is kind of a different intention, that you have enough money to cover whatever is wrong with the car.
Right. Because like I said, I had so much cash on me. And, if they would allow me to, based on what was wrong, do I have enough in the bank yet?
Right.
To, that kind of a thing. And so that was the intent, because I needed it fixed that day.
That day, right. So if you had, say, an estimate from the place and they said, well, it's going to cost you $372.92, and you had that estimate in your hand, you could work magic to get that amount of money.
Right.
Just that specific amount of money.
Right.
In a way that is for your highest good and harming none.
Yeah, that is definitely something that we need to make sure. Yeah, that we need to make sure that we kind of vocalize that at that part of it, because that's one thing that I have just really tacked on to everything. For my highest good, harming none.
Because you could be walking down the street on your way to the car place to get it fixed, and somebody drops their wallet. Oh, there's the money I need. Mm-hmm. But who does that hurt?
Right. Exactly. Right. So that I always tack on, for my highest good, harming none.
Right.
And so that, I feel like that is the first thing that you need to stress with yourself when working spell work.
Right.
Everything should end for my highest good, harming none.
And just because you think it's for your highest good does not mean the universe thinks it's for your highest good.
Right. And so just because you think that you have an unsuccessful spell
doesn't mean that it was really unsuccessful.
Or that it was too specific.
Right.
Or, there could be...
So, and we'll talk about her situation in just a minute here.
Yeah.
There's a thing that some Christians say, something about the best, something about thanking God for unanswered prayers. So if you're asking for something and it's not really for your highest good and you don't get it, sometimes that's for your highest good to not get that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I wasn't sure where exactly you were going with that.
Sometimes it's for your highest good to not get that.
Exactly.
So you got your car on the road. It's not going to last. You need a new car.
Right.
What are you doing?
Well, that's when you have to look at mundane and magical. Mm-hmm. Again, shaking that prosperity jar to get that prosperity energy going around. I would, for something like that, I would be looking at my budget, and in doing so, I would be, maybe burning some incense that is either a prosperity herb or is something that will help to open up things.
So what's your focus on? What is your will that you're working with this
My
spell?
intent would be to see, here's where things are kind of dual intent, because I want to attract the money that I need to purchase something, but I also want to
Okay, so let me ask you a question. You really like Grand Cherokees. Really, really. There's one down the street. It's $5,000.
Okay, well, first of all, there are vehicles that I like, but I've never geared intent towards having a specific
That's
vehicle.
what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
you really like a Grand Cherokee,
But more importantly, I need a vehicle that's reliable because I work a half an hour away.
right.
And so I need a vehicle that is reliable. I need one that is economical and that will give me good gas mileage.
Right. So maybe a Grand Cherokee is not a great idea.
Right.
Maybe a View is a good idea.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Something. So you could ask for a Grand Cherokee or
Sure.
a Mustang or a Porsche. You can ask for a Porsche. You're probably not going to get
Probably
one.
not going to get one.
Right. So, but would it be for your highest good to maybe ask for something that is going to be reliable, going to last you several years,
Right.
going to be economical as far as gas mileage is concerned, so that you can afford to put gas in it to get back and forth to work?
And reliable, I kind of look at reliable in like two different ways. Is it running great right now? And has it been maintained so that, in a year, I'm not going to find myself back in the same... Because a car could have been reliable
that week.
Right.
There's another thing that you have to look at when it comes to cars. How expensive is it to work on that car? Because we live in a GM area. It's all GM. So if we buy, say, a Hyundai,
right,
like
you did,
I did, the parts are going to be more money,
right.
And you might have to drive further to find somebody who's going to work on it.
There might not be a person who can service it in your town. You might have to go to the next town.
Like, it's true for my car, right?
Right. So, but I mean, this is the first time you've ever done anything like that. So it's kind of a
we've
learning curve.
Ford or Dodge, yeah.
Right.
But the point is, you should look at all of these things when you're talking economical.
And honestly, in terms in something like a car like that, when it boils down to the actual looking for and looking at the reliability and affordability and all that kind of stuff, I use energy work for something like that. Prior to that, like if in the year up to the point where I had to have a new car, if I knew that the existing one, it was getting up there in mileage, in years and stuff like that, that's when I would be maybe doing some energy work and some prosperity work to try to start a nest egg, so to speak, for repairs or replacement.
Right. And you can also do work toward maintaining your car, making sure that both energetically and in the mundane world, you change your oil, you change your tires, you rotate your tires, you do the stuff that you need to do to keep your car running.
And so I hope that kind of like helps her.
Well, there's one more situation I want to throw out there.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
You're putting me on, I feel like I'm sitting in class or something.
No, I mean, I can answer the question just as easy as you can. So, say you're looking for a job. I always wanted to be an author. Wouldn't that be great sitting and write all day? I want to get a job as an author. I'm gonna contact an agent and I'm gonna do magic so that this agent accepts me and goes to try to sell my book.
Okay.
What if that's not my highest good? What if that's not what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah, and see, for me, I kind of come at that because that's my life.
Right.
I want to be a writer. But I also have to pay the bills in the meantime. Right. So I always come at from, I would be looking at it from a mundane and a magical at the same time. If I thought that I had a chance of making it as a writer,
right,
then that's where you start, when you send things out, there are correspondences that, you can spray some success, type scent on it. There are lots of things that you can do in that way, but in and energetically and things like that. But in the mundane world, you don't just quit your job and think that you can just, I'm going to make it as an author tomorrow.
But you also don't say, I want this specific job at this specific
Oh,
company,
yeah.
doing this much money.
Right.
It's more important to say, I want a job that is going to make me happy and fulfilled and will allow me to pay my bills, and maybe have a little bit extra.
Right. Yeah. Be able to take care of myself and my family, what I need to do.
And allow me to be happy and fulfilled.
For my highest good.
Right.
Harming
because working at GM as a higher up designer or whatever, right now, it's not a good idea.
Right.
Because they're laying a bunch of people off. Right.
Yep.
But working for a local manufacturer who does maybe parts for a number of dealers.
Right. Yeah. For multiple kind of things, like maybe some boating, maybe some automotive.
Right.
You know,
so getting a job
diversified.
Designing that kind of stuff would be better for you in the long run for your highest good than getting a job at GM.
Right.
At this point.
Right.
So I guess what you need to do is focus on what is most important to you. What will... And that takes journaling and meditation and thought and discussion with your significant others and your friends and what's, some deep contemplation as to what's going to make you happy.
Right.
And maybe you feel that it is that one job, but maybe that job is not the right one for you.
Right.
So open it up enough to let the goddess, the God, the great spirit, divine mind, give you what it is you really need, rather than what you think you want.
Yeah, and as far, I tend to kind of, as far as like how specific am I with my intent, like in a very basic answer, I would say I'm not specific enough that I say I want this job right here.
Right.
But I would like a job in the field that I'm comfortable, that I have knowledge in. So I mean, I wouldn't say I want this job right here, but I don't have a problem in saying I want a job in a field that I know what I'm doing, that I can start and I might have a little bit. Yeah, I might have, a little bit of a learning curve, but I don't have to be retrained.
Right.
The salary is such that I can do what I need to do with it and maybe be able to sock some away for something fun, like, a vacation or something like that. It's okay, but I'm not going to say I want to be able to take this day off in the first 30 days that I work there.
Right.
This is the job. This is the kind of job that I want. I want to have a hot, hunky man be my boss, and I want my secretary to feed me bonbons. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't want to be that specific, but it's okay to be specific in the things that you need.
Yeah, it's okay to be specific. When the last time I was looking for a job, I asked for a job that would be interesting and fulfilling, that would pay me enough to be able to pay all my bills and have money left over, that I would have an environment where I could get along with everybody and be happy working there. And I'm super happy with my job.
Right. Because I feel like when you end it with, for my highest good, harming none, say you did some kind of a working like that, and say you were offered a job, and say that particular job you had said, I want to be able to, get the job, hit the ground running and be able to do it. But say they want you to take a class here on the side that will help you learn the software, so that so that you're not struggling.
Right.
And they're willing to pay you to take that class. So you're offered this job that, other than that one thing, it kind of fits loose enough with your criteria that it fits your criteria.
Right.
For your highest good, they want you to take this class, but they love you. They're willing to pay you to take the class as well as pay the class. So that's all for your highest good.
Right.
You know, and here you're going to learn and you're going to be running this program that you maybe didn't work before.
Right.
And so now you're gaining another skill that makes you even more marketable in the future.
Right. Again, highest good.
All for your highest good.
Yeah.
So...
Okay, so hopefully that was enough. I mean, intent is kind of a gray area because it's easy to get too specific and also easy to get not specific enough.
It's magic that you're working, it's energy that you're harnessing, and it doesn't work. I can't say I want a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby, but I have sex with someone from Korea.
You're not going to get
I'm not going to get a blonde-eyed, blue-haired, or a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby.
No.
Not with working magic like that.
Although, you are blonde and blue-eyed.
I'm blue-eyed, but I'm not blonde.
Yeah,
I'm brown.
You used to be.
I used to be kind of. Well,
the
you're
baby
so
could be
sweet.
blonde.
You're so sweet.
Baby could be blonde.
But yeah, so...
So that's that. Okay, we need to answer
okay, so yeah,
questions.
there's that one. So we're at that 30-minute mark that we like to stay at.
Yeah.
So do we want to kind of end it there, and then we can do another podcast in the future to answer some more questions? We only answered one question, but man, I think we did it good.
I think we did it. I think we stop now.
Okay. So if you've asked us a question and we didn't get to it, we're working on it.
We are.
And hopefully we're answering things.
Hopefully we've provided you with enough information to answer your question. And we apologize that we waited I don't know how many months to answer.
Right. So
But
that's
Angela, hopefully this will be helpful.
Yeah. So that's going to be it for this podcast. This was episode 501. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure if you liked this or learned something from it, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, what should they do?
They should subscribe.
Right, because all the cool kids are doing it.
Right. So if you have had some experience with specificity in your spell work working or not working, go ahead and give us a comment. We'd like to hear about it. Or shoot us an email. The link is below.
Right. Social media links are in that description box below as well, including Instagram links and Facebook page and emails and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's going to be it for this episode then. Thanks for listening, and thanks for walking the path for a little while with us. Until next time, blessed be.